Hi everyone, I'm Gwen and welcome to At Home with Gigi. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited about today's video. I have 6 DIYs that I have created for my tiered tray, and I'm using the theme of sunflowers because it is the end of summer, beginning of fall. And guys, I love tiered trays and I love sunflowers, so getting to combine the two, I'm just in heaven with this video. So I hope that you will stick around to the end and see how I combine them all together on my tiered tray, and how I've added in other elements that you can use to carry you into fall. And I would also like to say a great big welcome to everyone, and especially to all my new subscribers. Thank you so very much for taking the time to subscribe to my channel. And if you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become a part of my YouTube family. Now guys, let's get started. For this DIY, we're going to use this little sign that came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go around and gently push that back out, because once I get it out, I am going to cover it with scrapbook paper. Friends, I hope that you will grant me some grace with my voice in this video. I have been really struggling with my allergies and sinuses these last couple of weeks. You can leave that pink paper on there if you want, but I chose to go ahead and pull that off because I'm going to cover it with a white scrapbook paper, and I was afraid that that pink might show through.
I'm trying to make this darkness go away. I'll paint with colors and I'll sing until my lungs give out. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today, and I will leave my windows open so that I can hear the sound of people talking and the wind blowing in the trees. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke, and I will try to fix what has been broken, and take this weight off my shoulders, 'cause I know yesterday ain't coming back. I'm gonna let the past stay in the cold. I will listen to the ocean, let its unsaid words be spoken, and I'll let my mind be carried by the weight.
The letters that I'm going to be placing on my sign came from Walmart, and I love these letters. They're really different. They're like 3D and kind of spongy, and as you can see, I'm lifting up here and placing them back down. They are very forgiving and very, very sticky. I did not have to use any type of adhesive to keep these letters on my sign, and this was made about 3 weeks ago, and guys, this sign is holding up very well. They are not coming loose. You know how sometimes a letter will pop off or come loose at the edges or something? It is not doing that. And the phrase that I am putting on my little sign is, "You are my sunshine," and I love that phrase, and it always reminds me of my youngest daughter whenever she was in dance, and we would have to drive twice a week, 45 minutes one way, and that's one of the songs that we would sing together just to try to pass the time and keep her occupied. And it just brings a smile to my heart every time I think about this little phrase and our little time together. I'm just going to use some of these adorable little sunflower stickers that came from the Dollar Tree and add them to my sign. I'm not going to use the natural beads that came on my jute handle. I'm going to remove those and use some of the beads that came from Michael's. And guys, I got these during the 70% off sale they had a couple of weeks ago, and I got a whole little tub of them for $3. And I took them out of that and put them in this little canister that came from the Dollar Tree. And this is what my little sign looks like, all finished. You can either place it on a tiered tray or you could even hang it up by the handle. For this DIY, we're going to be using one of the little wooden trucks from the Dollar Tree that's double-sided. I just pulled it apart. And guys, I cannot remember where the wooden plank came from. I've had it for so long. And I'm going to use a paint from Apple Barrel. It's acrylic paint and it's called Key West. And one of my little secrets for thickening up a inexpensive acrylic paint, I add plaster of Paris to it, and I don't really have a specific recipe. I just keep adding to it until it's to the thickness and consistency that I want, but you do have to stir really, really well to make sure it's well mixed and no little clumps and it's not grainy. And then I'm just going to paint my truck, and I am going to give it 2 coats, guys. I'm just using antique wax from Gold Cart and mixing water with it just to thin it out and make it a little bit easier to brush onto my board. And I'm going to go pretty heavily with this because I really want to saturate my little sign and make that wood grain just pop through, because I'm going to go back with a baby wipe and wipe all the excess off. If you do not have antique wax, you can always take some brown paint and mix it with water and just thin it out, and it'll give you the same effect.
Gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away. I'll paint with colors and I'll sing until my lungs give out. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. And I will leave my windows open so that I can hear the sound of talking, the wind blowing in the trees. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way.
I'm using using this double-ended Sharpie marker that came from Walmart, and I was a little bit bummed. I had just opened it and it was pretty much dried out on both ends, but I think I was able to make it work pretty well. And I just wanted to go around the fenders and the door handles and things like that, the headlights, and just give it some definition, just make those little features pop out some.
Yesterday ain't coming back. I'm gonna let the past stay in the cold. I will listen to the ocean, let its unsaid words be spoken, and I'll let my mind be carried by the waves. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly.
I'm just going to use these little sunflower stickers that came from the Dollar Tree, and you will see, guys, that I am going to use these little stickers over and over in my projects today. But the idea that I had in mind was I wanted to look like the bed of my truck was just full of sunflowers, just overflowing, and they were just rising up out of there. But if you don't want to use sunflowers, you can always, especially this time of the year, find little pumpkin stickers or just little tiny pumpkins and put those in the bed of your truck. Or you could just add words to it, or you could do both. But I wanted sunflowers, so that's what I did.
Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings.
And I'm just loving how this little truck turned out. It is just too stinking cute.
Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sunshine in the day.
For this project, I'm going to be using these two little gnomes that came from Dollar Tree, and I'm using Hershey Bar and Nutmeg from Apple Barrel, and I mixed those two together with some of the plaster of Paris to make it more of a thicker consistency like chalk paint, and I did not like the color that came out, so I ended up adding some chalk paint, and the color was ink. And oh my goodness, I fell in love with this color. I believe this is going to be my new color for fall. It is just so pretty. I love the rich, dark chocolatey color that it came out.
People talking, the wind blowing in the trees. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sunshine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke, and I will try to fix what has been broken, and take this weight off my shoulders, 'cause I know yesterday ain't coming back. I'm gonna let the past stay in the cold. I will listen to the ocean, let its unsaid words.
And all that's left is just to add the sunflowers to the little gnomes. And guys, this really would be a great project to do with your kiddos. Maybe supervise them if you let them use the hot glue gun, or you do that. But this was so easy and just fun project to do.
Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sunshine in the day.
And this is how they look all finished, and they're just so adorable and sweet. And I think that they might be my favorites. For this DIY, we're going to be making a faux book stack, and we're going to be using this little crate that comes from the Dollar Tree in their Crafter's Square, and I'm just going to give it one coat of Waverly's chalk paint in white.
Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna
after that is completely dried, I'm just going to use my painter's tape and tape off each side and then just leave that center line bare. And I'm going to use Maize from Waverly Chalk Paint and give that 2 coats. Guys, I am so sorry. I did not realize my camera had stopped recording, so I did miss the beginning of placing the letters on the crate. But these letters came from Walmart, and you actually get a little bit better deal than you would if you got them at Dollar Tree. They were only 97 cents. And I did find these over in the near the party section instead of in their regular craft area. And I'm just using my tweezers because it makes placement of these letters a lot easier than just using my fingers, because I am a little fat fingered when it comes to little small things like this. The phrase that I'm using on my little crate is "begin with kindness," and I saw this on Pinterest some time ago and it just stuck with me. I just kept it in the back of my head, and I knew that somewhere along the line I wanted to use it in a craft, and I thought making this little faux book stack was just perfect time to use it. And I started with my biggest word and just worked my way up, trying to keep it in line and balanced. I just added 2 layers of Mod Podge to it just to make sure that those letters were not going to come up. And then the only other thing I added was just this ribbon, and this sweet little ribbon came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm loving it, and I'm so hoping I can find some more of it because I definitely want to continue using it in my fall decorating. And I'm just making a sweet little bow there on top with this ribbon, and that is it. Sometimes simple is just better. I really do love this phrase, and I love how the book stack turned out. And by no means is it perfect, but it does have that just sweet handcrafted look, and I think it's going to be a perfect addition to my tiered tray. This little DIY for the tiered tray was just very quick and easy. I took one of the palettes from Dollar Tree from the crafters section and painted it in Waverly Chalk Paint in the color Maize. And then I went on Google and typed in free printables for sunflowers and searched until I found the picture that I wanted. And then I just printed it out, and I'm just cutting it down to somewhat fit on my palette. If it doesn't fit just right, that's fine, because we're going to sand off the edges in a few minutes. And I just went pretty heavy with a layer of Mod Podge on the palette just to make sure that this paper is going to stick. Just line your paper up as best you can along the edge there. If some of it's hanging over, that's fine, because I'm going to trim some of it off with the scissors, and then whatever's left that's really close to the edges of the palette, I'm going to go back and sand that off. And that's the way whenever I use Mod Podge or on a project like this, I love to use sandpaper, or in this case my little handy dandy nail file. And I'm just sanding away from my project to make sure that I'm not going to tear the paper. And I got in a hurry and didn't give it time to dry completely, so I did kind of tear it just a little bit there along the edge. So just be aware of that. Just give your paper time to completely dry. But sanding it gives it such a nice clean finish. And I'm just going to use these letters that came from Amazon, and I will link those down below for you. Project really wasn't hard at all, and it didn't take very long at all either. Really, the longest part was just waiting for your paper and the Mod Podge to dry. But make sure that you give it time. Don't get impatient like I did and start filing away or cutting away, but it's still wet because it will tear your paper.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away. I'll paint with colors and I'll sing until my lungs give out. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. And I will leave my windows open so that I can hear the sound of people talking.
This is how it looks all finished, and I think it is just absolutely darling.
Open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
For this DIY, we're going to be using this little house, and this came from Michael's. I got this during their 70% off sale a couple of weeks ago, and I actually picked up several of them. And I just started by removing the heart. We're going to save that because we're going to be using it later. And I really had intended to just sand that little part right there down where I'd taken the heart off and then paint over it. But that didn't work out too well, so I ended up going back and removing all of the green paper that's there on the front, and it took a little bit of time to peel all of this off because up under it was like a layer of white fuzzy paper. So using sandpaper and a damp wipe, I just went back and forth between using the wipe to dampen it and soften it and loosen it up. It took, like I said, it took a while, but it came out so pretty and smooth. And then I originally just mixed the maize from Waverly chalk paint with a little bit of brown paint, and it turned it like a greenish color. I guess the color up under it didn't help it any, so I was like, nah, that's not what I'm looking for. So I went back with just maize and went over all of that with 2 coats, and I really liked the way it turned out. Once all of that dried, I just placed painter's tape on the front, and then I mixed together Waverly's ink and then 2 acrylic paints from Apple Barrel, nutmeg, and Hershey bar, and mixed all of that together with a little bit of my plaster of Paris, and I just went all the way around the outside of the little house and gave it 2 good coats. After that dried, I removed my painter's tape, and now I'm just using some jute twine that came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it around the top of my house there about 3 times.
Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun.
If you wanted, you could just stop right here with the jute twine, but I love my little bows, and especially this beautiful sunflower ribbon from Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to add a little shoelace bow, and then I'm just going to hot glue the heart that we had removed at the beginning of the project to the center of the bow. And I think this is just absolutely adorable. I cannot decide if this is my favorite or the little gnomes. Maybe I can have 2 favorites, but I think they're just so precious. I just went back and snipped off just a little bit more of the ends of my ribbon just to shorten it up a little bit. I thought it made it look a little more balanced. And again, you could paint this any color you want, use any color ribbon, or not use any ribbon at all. And here they are together, and I am just loving these. And guys, please excuse my voice. If you've stuck with me throughout this, I appreciate it so much. I have really struggled with this video and my voice. I just love how they all turned out and how they look all put together on my tiered tray, and for very little money, and just from pulling things from around your home and things that I have picked up from the Dollar Trees. You can see I've tucked in a couple of pumpkins just to give it that fall vibe. If you're not ready for fall, by all means do not put the pumpkins in, but this could be used all the way through fall or just as a transition to fall. But you gotta let me know down below which one of these was your favorite, and if you'll be recreating one of them, pop over to my Facebook page and leave me a picture and let me see. And as always, guys, I thank you so very much for being here today, and I'll see you next time.